You ever have that feeling, that low-level hum of stress about money that just doesn't seem to go away, even when things are objectively, okay? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into exactly what that is, where it comes from, and what you can actually do about it. Think about it. You get to the end of the month, you've paid all your bills, and there's actually a little bit left over. You should feel relieved, right? But for some reason, that tightness in your chest, it's still hanging around. What is that about? Or how about this one? You finally pay off that credit card. You hit the button, you make the final payment. It's a huge win. You feel amazing for a day. And then, a week later, that same old sense of dread just kind of creeps back in. It's so persistent, isn't it? You can literally go to bed telling yourself, okay, that's it, no more worrying, but you wake up the next morning and boom, there it is again. If any of this is ringing a bell, it's because what you're feeling isn't just random stress. It actually has a name. So here's the key distinction we need to make. We throw around the word stress all the time, but what you might be dealing with is actually financial anxiety. And believe me, knowing the difference between the two is the absolute first step toward taking back control. Okay, so let's break this down. On one hand, you've got normal money stress. You have a big bill due, you feel stressed. You pay the bill, the stress goes away. It's a direct cause and effect. But financial anxiety, that's a whole different animal. It's this chronic, free-floating feeling of dread that's not really tied to any one specific problem. It's just there. To put it a little more technically, your brain has this built-in threat detection system, right? Its job is to keep you safe. Well, with financial anxiety, that system gets stuck in the on position whenever the topic of money comes up, even if there's no real immediate danger to worry about. This is such a perfect way to think about it. Imagine a fire started in your kitchen years ago. The fire is long out, the kitchen's been rebuilt, everything is fine. But the smoke alarm is still screaming at the top of its lungs. That's financial anxiety. Your brain's alarm system never got the message that the danger is past. So here's the really frustrating part. Why does this feeling sometimes get worse, even when your bank account is looking better? It's because financial anxiety runs on a self-sustaining engine. It's a cycle. Let's take a look at how this avoidance loop actually works. So what does this loop, this little engine that powers the anxiety, what does it actually look like in day-to-day life? Because once you can see the mechanics of it, you can start to figure out how to dismantle it. It all breaks down into 4 basic steps. First, something triggers you. It could be a notification from your bank, a friend talking about their investments, or even just a random thought. Step 2, your internal alarm system goes off. Danger, money. Then comes step 3, the most natural reaction in the world, avoidance. You don't open the app, you change the subject, and for a second, you feel a little better. But here's the kicker, step 4. Because you didn't look, your brain fills in that information gap with the worst possible story, making the monster in the dark way scarier than it actually is. So that's the engine, right there. It's this vicious little cycle. The anxiety makes you avoid things, and the avoidance makes the anxiety even bigger next time. It's a self-perpetuating machine that has almost nothing to do with the actual numbers in your account. Now, this loop doesn't just create a bad feeling. Over time, it does something far more damaging. It starts to change how you see yourself. The pattern of behavior starts to feel like a final verdict on who you are as a person. You see, it starts out as something you do. You might think, wow, I feel anxious when I think about my student loans, or I'm avoiding looking at my credit card bill. But after that loop runs a few hundred times, the story changes. It becomes something you are. It becomes, I'm just bad with money, or I'm the kind of person who can't handle finances. But here is the most important thing I want you to hear. This is not a character flaw. It's a conclusion your brain assembled based on evidence. Maybe you grew up in a house where money was always a secret, scary thing. Maybe you took out student loans when you were 18 with no real concept of what compound interest even was. We've all lived through years where wages just didn't keep up with cost of, well, everything. Your brain learned to be anxious for very good reasons. Let me say that again, because it's that important. This feeling, this pattern is a mechanism. It is not a moral failing. It's not a sign that you're lazy or incompetent. It's a system that got built, and the good news about systems is they can be interrupted. So how do we break this cycle? How do we interrupt this mechanism? Well, it's not about some huge, heroic act of willpower. It's actually about something much smaller. It's about sending a new, tiny signal to your brain. You see, this is why advice like just make a budget often doesn't work for people with deep financial anxiety. You can't just power through a threat response. What you have to do is gently, repeatedly show your nervous system that looking at the threat is actually not dangerous at all. So what does that actually look like in practice? Not some giant life overhaul. Let's talk about one single tiny step you can take this week. Just one. That's it. We're going to focus on one single number. Okay, here's your mission should you choose to accept it. Sometime this week, log into your bank account and just look at one number, your checking account balance, your credit card debt, whichever one feels like the monster. Look at the number and then write it down on a piece of paper. That's it. You're not fixing it. You're not judging it. You are simply sending one small, powerful signal to your brain. See, the threat has been seen and we're okay. The looking did not destroy us. And that brings us to the most important takeaway from all of this. The anxiety, the avoidance, the story you might have told yourself for years that you're bad with money. Please hear me when I say this. That is not who you are. It is a description of what happened to you. And understanding that difference, that is the very first step toward changing everything.